I'm Freeman's son-in-law, one of the two. My name is Eric Nail, and I'm the husband of his youngest daughter, Kay. I'm not the most eloquent speaker, but I was voted the most likely not to break down at the podium. That shows how little they know about me after 25 years in this family. I just began to think about some of the things about my father-in-law that made me smile, and I want to share those with you. My wife, she's a history professor at UAB, and you can imagine how fun that is for me at the house. And a couple of years ago, she made this comment. She said, I could teach an American history course on the life of my dad, what he lived through, and it's really true. He had this Forrest Gumpian way of being associated with every major event, significant event that happened in the 20th century. He was, first of all, born into a sharecropping family in the 1920s, and he survived that. He made it through the Great Depression of the 30s. He survived that. He was abandoned by his mother as a small child, and he survived that. He was a real-life Huckleberry Finn. He was the terror of the Tallapoosa River, and he survived that. At the age of 16, he went to a relative at the recruiting board and said, I want to fight for my country. I want to go and be a part of this World War II. And so at the age of 16, he joined the Army and became a grunt. And for the first 2 years, he spent most of that time in the brig because every time he got a chance, he wanted to go home. It wasn't because he was afraid to fight. It was because he got homesick. And you can imagine being 16 and in the Army. He was a Union man, but he was the son of a Southern general. He was an entrepreneur many times over. He was a master gardener before there was any such thing as master gardeners. He was an underground coal miner, one of the finest you'd ever meet from Walker County. He was a Zen master of small engine repair. All he had to do was look at it, smell it, feel the texture of the oil, and he could tell you what was wrong with it. And he wanted me so bad to understand how to repair small engines. And he would say, do you get this? Do you understand it? And I would say, no. And he would say, well, just pull the cord then. And it would always start up. They say the most intense memories of people are the smells that you associate with them. And whenever I smell sweat and fresh-cut grass and gasoline, I remember Freeman. Whenever I smell fire and hickory wood and old denim overalls and gasoline, I'll remember my father-in-law. When I smell freshly tilled dirt and fertilizer and tomato plants and gasoline, I'll remember my father-in-law. See, to him, gasoline wasn't just fuel, it was a medicine. Didn't matter if you had a cut, sting, bite, scrape, bullet wound, put a little gasoline on it, and you'll be better. There's only one thing that I remember my father-in-law not caring too much about, and I'm sure it had to do with his time in World War II. He didn't care for anything Japanese. My apologies to all Asian people here. He didn't care for Japanese products, or Japanese beetles. Not a single one of them. I asked my family if there's anything that they would have me share, and Cheryl was the only one. She said, just let everybody know that Daddy never had to spank me. And I think that answers a lot of questions that a lot of us had. Freeman was a man with perpetual plans to go, but no intention of actually going fishing. He was father to a bank president, a history professor, and an Eagle Scout. He produced 3 amazing families from his 3 children. Some of the hardest working people I've ever met. But he himself was the hardest working man that I've ever met, bar none. And if you ask around, some others will say the same thing. Nobody worked harder than Freeman Cochran. In the book of Genesis, God curses man and says, you'll work with your hands and with the sweat of your brow to provide for your family from now on. And I guess 1,000, 1,500 years later, Solomon came along, the wisest man, and he said, the only joy you're going to have in life is that you can enjoy your labor. And Freeman Cochran is a man that lived out both the curse and Solomon's advice. I was always amazed because I had always been a desk jockey and a cubicle monkey. But Freeman truly lived off the land. He made things with his hands, and he worked with his hands. He was connected to the earth and to his work. Everything he did on his own from the time that he was very little. And with the providence of God helping him, he never had anything handed to him in life. He literally dug out a living out of the earth for his family. And he reaped a harvest from the top of the soil with his own sweat. Freeman was a source of so much help and so much humility in my own life. As a young married guy, there's 3 words that you don't want to hear your wife say, other than, "It's not yours." And those 3 words are, "Just call Daddy." Man, leaky water pipes, Kay, I can't fix this. Just call Daddy. Busted weed eaters, flat tires, cold hot water heaters. Just call Daddy. He knows what to do. And he always did. He always knew the right answer. He was a dear man to me. Treated me like a son from the moment I met him. How would I want you to remember? First of all, I would like you to remember that he was a survivor. He made it through a lot. Second, I want you to understand that he loved his family more than anything. And he showed it and he lived it.